SAIMET, or what was SAIMET up until Monday and we're now the South Australian Medical Education and Training Unit, runs a central application and allocation process for interns for all the hospitals in South Australia. We have a range of other functions which you'll probably get to hear about over the next few years as you do your internship. Most of it's around accreditation of the JMO positions that you go into to ensure the quality of the education and training. Your intern year is 47 weeks of satisfactory supervised clinical experience, which you have to do 10 weeks in medicine, 10 weeks in surgery and 8 weeks in emergency medicine, as well as other rotations through other areas in order to get your general registration. To apply for an intern position, I guess the very first thing is that you need to go online to the website. You've got a bookmark there, the website address is on there, the bookmark has got the website address on there, and you will need to make an application for internship. If you don't make an application, you won't get an intern position, that's guaranteed. What happens then is that we verify go through every single application that's done, we verify the information that you've provided, we cross-check it if need be. And then a few weeks later after that, well, that takes a few weeks to happen, then we do the allocation and the notification to you. You then need to go back online and accept or decline any offer that's made to you. And then at a later point in time, that can be quite often some weeks or even a month or two, the hospital or the local health network will provide the contract to you. So don't be concerned that there is maybe a length of time between us making the offer to you, you accepting the offer, and then the contract coming out. The contract does often take some weeks to come. To be eligible for an intern position, you must be an Australian or New Zealand graduate in the last 3 years, including this year. You must meet the residency or visa requirements. And I guess the really important one is that you must meet the English language skills that the medical board sets in order for you to obtain general registration. What that means is that you must have done your secondary schooling in Australia, the last 2 years of secondary schooling in Australia, physically in Australia, or one of the other 6-7 countries that are on the exempt list. So that's the UK, Ireland, South Africa, US, Canada, and there must be one more that I can't think of at this point in time. Sorry? Anyway, there are 6 or 7 Latin countries there that you must have done your secondary schooling. You will be required to provide evidence of that when you do your application. If you've done secondary schooling, the last 2 years of secondary schooling outside of those countries, then you must do an English language skills test that's approved by the medical board and at the level that they require. So they require the academic stream, they require you to get a score of, I think it's at least 7 or 7.5 in each of the 4 areas in one sitting. So you must do that, and you must provide evidence of that during your application. And these positions are for a 12-month contract beginning in January 2014. When we come to do the allocations, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a number of categories or priority groups that all states and territories apply. There are some differences, and I'll talk about that in a little bit in a minute. In terms of South Australia, these are the allocation categories that we currently apply. And this is the order that we apply, that we offer people jobs. And the first one are the category 1.1s, which are graduates from Adelaide or Flinders University who are Commonwealth supported or on a rural bonded medical scholarship. And the second category there that applies to you guys here is if you're a local university here and a full fee paying student. We then offer positions to interstate, what we call domestic applicants, Australian citizens, Australian permanent residents. And then we go down to the Australian temporary residents from local universities, then interstate universities, then the overseas campuses. Now, you may be aware that in Victoria last year they changed their allocation categories and they offered positions to local Victorian, Australian citizens or permanent residents and New Zealand citizens, and then they did their international students from the local university as well. This year, there have been, ACT did that as well last year. This year we found out yesterday that Western Australia and Tasmania are doing the same thing. Now in South Australia we are continuing with these allocation categories although we have put a briefing to the Minister, to the Chief Executive this afternoon, just to confirm that they do wish to keep those categories there. The advice we've received is that because of human resource practice and legal requirements, that we have to offer Australian citizens, Australian permanent residents, New Zealand citizens positions before we can offer positions to people on temporary visas. Now, I know for many of you that's not the news you want to hear, but that is the situation at this point in time, and we don't anticipate that that will change. But South Australia will continue with these allocation categories. This year, there's a significant change in that you'll be allocated instead of to individual hospitals. When you go in and make your application, fill your application out, you will in fact be preferencing the business and administrative structure of the South Australian health system, and that are local health networks. We have we have 5 health networks in South Australia, 4 of them which are eligible for intern training. One is the Central Adelaide Local Health Network, which is the Royal Adelaide Hospital, Queen Elizabeth Hospital, as well as a number of smaller, like Hampstead and places like that. Northern Adelaide, which is Lyell McEwen and Modbury Hospital. Southern Adelaide, which is Flinders and the Repat Hospital and Noarlunga Health Service. And then Country Health SA, which is Mount Gambier, and Julie's going to talk to you a bit about Mount Gambier later on. And we've got people here to talk about Southern and also Central. It's important to realise that some of the rostering and the home hospital arrangements do differ between the local health networks. In terms of Southern Adelaide, Lindsay will talk to you about what happens there. In terms of Central Adelaide, I think Mitchell will probably talk to you about that when she gets here. Northern Adelaide are still working out how they are going to do it. We've got some more discussions next week with them, but at this moment we can't tell you how Northern Adelaide will actually do that, and they're not coming here tonight to talk about what the concern experience at Northern Adelaide is. So I guess you just got to hang on. As soon as we get information from Northern, it will be made available on the website as to what they plan to do. Thank you. So just going through the process itself, you need to set up an account. You need to go to the SAIMET website. Under the section that says junior doctors, you need to go down there to interns, and we strongly encourage you to read through all the information that is currently there, because it contains a lot of information that probably the questions that you want to ask. Down the bottom of that menu there for interns, there's a menu item called Apply Here. Click on that, you'll be able to set up an account, provide a little bit of personal information, your email address and a password, and that will enable you then to log into the application system. It will also generate automatically a security code that's sent to you to the email address you have nominated. Please make sure your email address is entered incorrectly. If you put a comma instead of a full stop accidentally, or you put .com instead of .com.au or whatever it may be, you won't get that email, you will not be able to finish off your application. If you do find that is a problem and you don't get the security code email sent to you, then you need to contact us. The information's on the website about how to contact us, and we will need to just correct your email address for you. That's not something you can do yourself. That security code that's in the email needs to be entered into your application at some point during the application process before you can do the final submission. In terms of the information that we require, we obviously need to know who you are, where you live, your contact numbers, all that sort of stuff. This year also the university will be providing you with an ARPA student registration number. There's been some national agreement on providing that all intern applicants will provide this national number that ARPA give to you, or the medical board give to you as a student. Now normally you don't even necessarily know you've been given one, but in order to try and match people up across states and territories to do the audits of who applies for different states and territories and how many positions people have got, this year they will be collecting this ARPA student registration number. The universities will be given that number, and you'll need to get that from the university. We're not able to provide it to you. As far as I know, ARPA won't provide it to you, and they will provide it to the university. So you need to talk to the uni about getting that number. We want information about your residency status, information that you actually are going to complete a medical degree at the end of this year, proof of your English language that we talked about, and also a CV. Now, the CV is not used in the allocation process, and I'll talk about how the allocation is done, but what it is done is provided to the local health networks after you've accepted an offer so that they know who they're getting and they know a bit about you. They use that to look at what your career preferences are, that sort of stuff, so they get to know you a bit before you actually get there. You'll then get the opportunity to have a list of the local health networks, and you need to place them in your preferred order. And I would consider all of your preferences carefully. Every year we get people who say, oh, well, I didn't really think about my third preference because I didn't think I'd get it. It may be that you do get your third preference or your fourth preference. So think about them carefully, put them all in the order that you would prefer to get offered a position. You may not get your first preference, you may not even get your second preference. We can't guarantee that. Depends on how many people want that first preference, how many people want that second preference. So look at all of them, put them in the order that you would really want to get, really wish to get an offer. There are a few special considerations that in some circumstances you can apply for. One of them is part-time. If you wish to do an internship part-time, then that will be considered on an individual case basis. There is no guarantee. It's going to depend on where you get a position or what preference, what hospitals you want, what's available there, but will be considered. Sometimes people do request to go to a certain location, again because of exceptional circumstances. They've got to be pretty exceptional. It could be major health issues, dependents, for example, who are unable to locate to regional South Australia. We also get questions about, well, my husband, wife, partner, whatever it may be, is going to wants to go to Flinders Medical Centre, and I'd like to go to Flinders Medical Centre with them. We generally don't worry too much about that because the reality is you're not going to be on the same shifts, you're unlikely to be even working the same days all the time, and the reality of life is that we do have to work away from our partners, and if you haven't been with your partner for some time, that might be a good thing. But if there are exceptional circumstances where you think you need to, then you can apply for that, and each case will be considered on an individual basis. Julie wants to say something.
Rural?
If you wish to apply for rural, that's your first preference, and put it as a first preference.
Couples?
And couples, the same thing. If you want to apply as a couple, you both need to put the same first preferences. It's no good saying I want to go to Flinders Medical Centre if one half of you says I want to go to Flinders and the other half says Royal Adelaide Hospital, but you want to be applied as a couple. Okay? So if you both want to go rural, both put Mount Gambier as your first preference. And we also don't consider transport within the metropolitan area as grounds for special considerations. You'll then need to upload a whole lot of documents that gives evidence that proves your things like your residency status. Everyone will need to do this whether you're an Australian citizen or on a temporary visa, whatever it may be. If you don't have a passport, if you're an Australian citizen and you don't have a passport, you'll need to talk to us about what alternative evidence you may be able to provide to us that shows you are an Australian citizen. If you're obviously on a temporary residence visa, then you will have a passport or a visa or whatever that shows that anyway. Evidence of your English language skills and the evidence of where you did your secondary schooling. That could be a SACE certificate, it could be a record of from your high school, it could be a letter from something. We just need some evidence that says yes, you did your high school here in Australia or Canada or wherever it may have been. Or a copy of your English language skills test that says you've passed and you've got the results. It's got to be the full copy that shows the results you got for each section. We also ask for a copy of the university transcript. It proves that you are enrolled in medical school. It's not used again in the selection process. We don't care about the grades you've got or haven't got. It's just used to prove you're actually enrolled. And also university also a CV, as I said. If you are, for some applicants, so all applicants need to upload these things. If you are asking for special considerations, or if you are a temporary resident, then you will also need to provide your visa and the documentation around those special considerations. The thing about, just remember with the documents, there are Word documents, PDF, or JPEG files only that you can upload. If you've got a document in some other format, you will need to convert it. They need to be less than 2 megabytes in size, and it needs to be a single document for each section. So if you've got a couple of documents for, the residency, for example, you need to upload, you will need to combine them into a single document. That might be by scanning them together into a single document, might be combining them on your computer, whatever it may be, they do need to be a single document that you upload. And there's some hints on the website about how to reduce the file size of documents and things like that.
With regards to university transcript, we can generate an unofficial one, or do we have to get an official one?
Unofficial one, transcript from logging onto your university site on the web is fine. Same with your visa, it doesn't have to be, you can take a photo or scan a copy of your visa and your passport, but if you've got that email that comes to say, you've been given the visa, you can submit that. So we need evidence that, is obviously real, but shows that, but we don't specify it has to be, you don't have to have it signed by a JP or anything like that. Once you've provided all of the information and put your preferences in order, where you want to go in order, you'll need to do a final submission that says, I've finished this and it's ready for me to submit. You need to accept some terms of use, you need to make sure you've entered your security code, you'll be asked to review it and then press the submit button. Once you press submit, you cannot make changes. Now you can take a month to do this before you do your submit, from the time you create your application, open your application to the time you press submit, and you can go back and make as many changes to that as you want. Once you press submit, the only thing you can change is your contact details, such as your phone number or address, because we do need you to keep that up to date. If you need to change your email address, you change email providers or something like that, you will need to contact us, but I'd encourage you to do that, because all of the offers that you get will be done by email. If you don't have access to that email address any longer, you will not get an offer. We then go and go through everything and check them for completion to confirm you're eligible, and we check the documentation you provided. And it's worth remembering that if any applications are incomplete, then we may not contact you. If you provide false or misleading information, you may be excluded from the application process. In terms of the way the allocation is actually done, it's basically done in order of those priority groups on a random basis based on your preference. So what we do is we take all of the preference one, all of the Australian citizens, the category 1.1s. We then pull out those of you that have got a first preference for Flinders Medical Centre, and there might be 100 of you. We take, if there are 76 positions there available there, we take a random, via a computer algorithm, a random sampling of 76 of them. We then randomise that again, the order of them, to ensure that it's truly random, and then you're offered in order of that list. That is done by a computer. Every time we make an offer, and there will be, last year there was something like 39 offer rounds that were made, 39 individual days where we made offers to people. Every time we do that, we go in and we repeat that algorithm again. So there's not some big master list that says you're the next one on the list. So people do contact us sometimes and say, can you tell me when I'm going to get an offer? Am I 4th on the list or am I 76 on the list? We can't tell you that, because every time we do it, we run that algorithm again so that it's a truly random process. It's in the order of category groups, the priority groups, and then preferences. You will be allocated, you'll be offered one position only, and that offer is made by email. You must respond to that offer online, and you must accept or decline that position within the time frame that you're given. That time frame will be fairly short. We need to move through a lot of applicants, and I'm going to show you the number of applicants we have very quickly. You're likely to get between 48 and 72 hours to respond to any offer. You will probably be sent an SMS reminder if you haven't reminded. We do that, but we don't guarantee the SMS gets through. But we do send you an SMS reminder to say, you haven't done this yet. That should be a trigger to you to say, hey, I need to check my email. Or if you check your email and it's not there and we've sent you an SMS reminder, you need to contact us, because something may have gone wrong with that email, or maybe it's in your junk mail folder, whatever it may be. If you get an SMS saying, you haven't responded to your offer, you need to contact us so that we can then make sure that you do get that offer and you don't miss out just because you haven't accepted it. If you accept it, then your information is provided to the local health network so that they can do the contracting. If you decline it, we won't make any other offers. If you don't respond, we'll assume that means you don't want the offer and we will decline you ourselves. If you accept an offer from interstate somewhere and you're not going to stay in South Australia, go online, you can withdraw your application. I strongly encourage you to do that at any point in the process. If you decide you're not going to take a position here in South Australia before we've made you an offer or after we've made you an offer, go online and withdraw it, because it frees up positions then that are available for your colleagues that will not yet have positions. And the other thing is, we don't allow swaps. So if you've got Flinders and your friend's got the right Adelaide and you want to do a swap, the answer is no. We've talked about the contract. That may take some quite time to come through. At the end of the process, there are vacancies that occur over the last couple of months of the year because people will accept positions interstate. We continue to manage that backfill process by us, and there is also a national vacancy support system that can be put in place if it's required. One of the things that has happened over the last couple of years is there's a national audit of multiple applications and multiple acceptances to identify people who hold a position in different states and territories. And there are some people who will get offered 2, 3, 4 positions. And sometimes they will accept those positions, sometimes for very legitimate reasons, sometimes because they're just still trying to make up their mind. There is a number of audits that occur to identify those people. And what happens is the audit office then contacts you and says you've identified as having a position in South Australia and Western Australia and Victoria. You need to decide which position it is that you're going to accept. You need to withdraw from the other ones. Now, they will talk to you through that process. They will talk to you about why you might be holding on to multiple positions. It's worth remembering, though, that states and territories have all got in their terms of use that if you are holding on to multiple positions, they can withdraw the offer that is made to you. So if you're holding it onto it for a long period of time and being, I guess, for want of a better word, difficult about managing it, and we had a couple of people last year who, they wouldn't return phone calls, they wouldn't respond to emails to say, you've got multiple positions. As a state, we've taken legal advice to say that we can actually withdraw the offer that's made to you, and that is in the terms of use that you accept. So we don't want to do that, and we do everything we can to prevent that. But if, for example, people are not playing ball, are being difficult to get along with, then that is an option that states and territories do have. And as I said, if you accept an interstate offer, then please come back and withdraw your offer in South Australia. That position will be offered to somebody else. Just to give you some idea of the number of positions that were available last year, Southern there were 73, at Central Adelaide, or Rod Adelaide there were 92, at 54 at QEH, 32 at 19 and 19 at Lymacune and Modbury, and 6 positions down in Mount Gambier, for a total of 276 positions across South Australia. At this point in time, we do not know how many intern positions there will be in South Australia. We anticipate there will be at least as many as that, and historically there's always been a few more. But there's been no decisions made on the number of positions. It's dependent on what are the service needs of the hospitals, it's dependent on the supervisory capacity, and of course the available funding. And that decision won't be made until just very close to the allocation starts, which will be July sometime. And it does change beyond that. So last year we had a couple of extra positions that were added in. Then we had some people withdraw, and we had some hospitals say, look, don't fill that position for us just yet, we just want to wait and see what's happening. We thought we had some funding, but the funding wasn't there, and things like that. So the numbers do change. I would anticipate there's at least 276, but I can't tell you exactly how many there will be. In terms of allocations, this is the allocation. The category 1s are the local domestic students, category 2 are interstate domestic, category 3 are local international students, category 4 are interstate international students. You can see that we had acceptances from 195 of the group 1s, 20 interstate people, 35 local internationals, and 26 interstate internationals. So just a couple of things at the end. Important dates. Information is on the website now. I'd encourage you to look at it. If there's something there after you've looked through the website and looked through it in its entirety, there's an email address there. You can contact us, email in your question. What we do is if we do get questions and the information's not there, we actually do go back and add that to the website because it's probably a question other people want to know also. Applications will open on the 10th of May, applications close on the 7th of June, and offers start on the 29th of July. You're probably aware that in previous years there's sort of been some defined dates for round 1, round 2, round 3 offers. The reality is those dates don't mean very much. So what states and territories are doing this year is saying, agreeing that we'll start allocations on the 29th of July, and we will work through them as quickly as we can in order to get people places. But I can't tell you if you're an international student whether you will receive an offer or not on a certain date, because we don't know. It depends on how many people accept offers, how many people decline, how many people withdraw an accepted offer later on down the track, and all those sorts of things. How many even people apply, how many interstate domestics we get will determine how soon we can get to offering positions to the local international students. So allocation is ongoing. You may receive an offer at a different time to your peers. They can be people who are sitting alongside of you, they're your best friends, but you don't know. We can't guarantee you'll get an offer at the same time. What we will do is we'll work through it as quickly as we can. What we will also be doing is providing updates to the presidents of the medical societies and also the deans of the universities, and probably put it up on our website as well. Each week we'll do an update. This is what we've offered to date. This is 200 Group 1s, and we've offered 35 Group 2s. And the next week we'll update that so that you can see where that is up to. Just a couple of tips. First of all, take responsibility for yourself. You keep your contact details up to date, accept and decline by the stated date, and remember the dates of application opening and closing. You may not get your first preference, so carefully consider all of them. And wherever you do your internship in South Australia, it will enable you to apply for and meet the requirements for general registration. You need to remember that although you may prefer to go to a certain hospital, wherever you end up, that will enable you to meet the requirements for general registration. A couple of, pleas really. First of all, please remember you are professionals, you're about to become doctors, so conduct yourselves in a professional way. Ringing up, SAIMET staff and getting angry with them or whatever because you don't have an offer isn't going to change anything, and it doesn't really help. If you have a question, for sure, we're happy to answer the question, but getting angry, shouting at people is not going to help. And the other one is, do you really need your mum to ring up and plead your case? Because we do get it every year. Now, it may be that those students don't know their mum's right, and I know mum loves you and all that, but do you really need it? Go to the website, junior doctors and then interns. We have Facebook, we have Twitter. You won't receive your offer by Facebook, but you will receive reminders by Facebook and things like that. You can like us. If you decide to unlike us, that's fine. And lastly, you've got a brochure here, it's a bit of advertising. The annual pre-vocational medical education forum is in Adelaide this year. And if you're interested in medical education, junior doctor training, education, I'd encourage you to go to the website, have a look at it. If you want to register, there are cheap rates for students and things like that. That's all I've got to say. I don't know if you want to take with Joe. Do you guys want to keep going and then have questions after, or do you want to take a couple of questions now? Maybe we'll take a couple of questions now if you've got questions on the application process. Any questions? Okay.
Under the way with second preferences and third preferences, if you get offered, say your third preference may be the Northern network, will you get an offer for a second preference maybe Southern or Central or something like that, or a first preference as the offers get released?
No. What happens is that you will, whatever offer you get, that's the only offer you will get. So as later on down the track, and there will be people who withdraw from these places, but it becomes a logistical nightmare to try and then go back and offer you this. You've already got Northern, we're going to backfill that one, and someone doesn't want that one, and all those sorts of things. So the offer you get is the only offer that you will get for an internship in South Australia. You need to either accept or decline it.
And when you get your offers, say you apply for Northern, do you just find out you've been offered Northern, but not whether you've been offered Northern Larmac or Northern Monterey?
Yes. So you will be offered a position at the network level. So Southern Adelaide, Northern Adelaide, Central Adelaide, or Country Health SA. What will happen after that is that when you accept that offer, you'll be provided with another form to fill in within a couple of weeks that asks you to list what your preferred home hospital will be for those hospitals where there is a home, where there is the option. So Central, where you could go to either QEH or Royal Adelaide Northern, where you go to Modbury or Lime McEwen, you'll be asked what that preferred home hospital is. You'll also be asked to provide information about what your preferred rotations are. That information is provided to the networks, and they will use that information then to determine where your home hospital is and the rotations and things that you have. The process that they use to do that is entirely up to the networks and how they do that, and we haven't been provided with that information.
And it's probably not known yet. Now, we might leave more questions to the very end because we've got a couple of other presenters to get through, okay? That's okay. Thanks very much, David.
Sure.
We need a bit of a break.